Hi everyone and welcome. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this earphone case holder. It is crocheted, and my one, I have the AirPod Pros, the Apple Airpod Pros, but this will work for any other earphone case. So if you have the other ones, the ones that are this shape kind of, don't worry at all. If you have other earphones, this will still work. It is all crocheted using single crochets, and I've used 2-color yarn. So I'll go over the materials. First of all, what you need is cotton yarn. I think cotton is the best because it only stretches so far. With this one, you really don't want it to stretch too far because of course then it gets too loose and then you lose your earphones if you, for example, have it on a key ring. So I like using cotton because it's just nice and snug and I know it won't go anywhere. So the one I used is the Cotton 8-4 by Friends. It's mercerized, so it means that it gives just like a nice shine, and I think it looks really elegant and like high quality. So in my opinion, the mercerized cotton is a tiny bit more expensive, but if you're ordering the yarn online, I think it comes down to maybe like 10-20 cents per ball. So I think that's really reasonable for how little yarn A you're using for this, and B, the quality that you're getting out of it. Yeah, so I use this one. It suggests for a 2.5 to 3 millimeter needle. And this brings me to the needle I use. So I use a 2 millimeter needle for this. So I actually size down half a needle size. And that's essentially because I want my stitches to be nice and tight. I want to know that my AirPods aren't going to go anywhere. And so I crocheted it very tightly. I'm usually not really a tight crocheter. So if you are, you might be able to just use the needle size suggested on your yarn. But for me, I knew that I needed to size down for this project. Then of course, you'll need some scissors to cut the yarn, as well as a sewing needle for later when we sew in the ends, but we'll put that to the side for now. If you want, you can use a stitch marker. Personally, I don't feel like I need one for this project, just because it is kind of like a fit it as you crochet along, just to make sure it's nice and snug. So before we get started, for the AirPod Pros, the charging hole is actually at the bottom of them. So that means I needed to make a hole here at the bottom to be able to charge my earphones, because I don't want to be taking it out of the case every time that I need to charge it. And yeah, so I'll show you the alteration if you don't have this hold on here for whatever reason, if you own a different case of earphones. But for this tutorial, I will be showing you how to make the hole, and the only difference is that you start it a little bit differently. So let's get started. Okay, so to start, because you might be using a different thickness of yarn and a different hook size, so I'm not going to give you the number of stitches that you need to be doing, but rather I'll show you how far each row of stitches or each round of stitches needs to go, so that you'll have a snug fit. So to start, you're going to chain the amount of stitches that range from the end of your charging hole, if you have one, to right where the case starts to round off. So that's around about right here, because then it rounds off, right? So you're going to chain from here until here. So it's a pretty short chain of just regular chain crochet stitches. Now, if you don't have the charging hole, you can chain the entire bottom width of your AirPod. So for example, if this is my case, if this is the bottom, then I would chain from here to here. So just a regular chain. So I've chained, I believe it's 5 stitches, and that is enough for me, because you can see that now if I kind of measure it against here, the first chain aligns with the hole right here, and then of course the last chain aligns with the point where it starts to round off. Now I'm gonna chain one more, because of course I will need to turn my work, and then I'm gonna single crochet into the second chain from the hook. So the first one is your turning chain, and then I'm gonna single crochet into this one, and then single crochet all the way to the first chain. So I'll meet you there. So I've single crocheted my whole way back along this chain. You can see that this is where I started right here. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work my way around, so around this way to come to the bottom of this. And that's also how we're gonna be creating that hole for the bottom. If you don't have the hole, just single crochet your whole way around and then work kind of like a whole loop around. But for us, into that last chain that I have here, I'm gonna put 2 more single crochets, so that's 3 in total. So here's 1, and here is my second one. Okay, so now I'm already coming around, and now I'm gonna go back along the chain, but from the other side, going into each of these stitches. And that will bring me right to the end of my work right here. So I'll meet you there. Okay, so now I've reached the end of my chain on the other side right here. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna chain the amount of stitches to reach the width of the hole, of the charging hole. Because this essentially is the side right here. So now I'm gonna work myself in chains to this side. So for me, I'm guessing it's gonna be around 4 chains. 2, 3, 4. I recommend you do it a little bit bigger because of course that'll be easier to get your charger in later, but that looks about right. So now I have 4 chains after my work right here, and that might be more or less for you depending on the thickness yarn you have, but now you can see that will give me plenty of room for me to charge my AirPods later on. Now I'm gonna count the number of stitches that I have before my chains. So for me that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So after the round, the first one is here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is where my chains start. So then I'm gonna chain 5 more right here. So after my 4 chains, chain 5 more. Then I'm gonna turn my work here again, chain 1 extra for the turning around stitch, and then single crochet 5 to get back to the other foundation. I'll meet you there. Okay, so once you've done single crochets on top of all your chains, for me that was 5 single crochets. Now you're gonna create the top part of that hole. So I did 4 chains down here, so I'm gonna do 4 chains up here as well. However many chains you did down here, you're gonna do the same amount of chains at the top here. So for me that was 4. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now you have 2 rows of single crochets here, or it's like your chain and then back once. But here you had your chain, then you went one way and then you went the other way. So here you actually have 3 kind of rows, or yeah. So to compensate that, we're gonna go slip stitch, but not up here, but kind of where your first slip stitch joins. So it's a bigger hole in here. And just go through there and do a regular slip stitch through there. Then you're going to chain 1. There we go. Turn your work and work single crochets all the way around. So now you're adding that 3rd row on your thinner side, and I'll meet you at the back of your work. So for me, I'm going to do 9 single crochets, 4 for the chain here, and then 5 for my base right here, and I'll meet you back here. So I've reached the end of that row. I'm gonna go ahead and just measure to make sure that I'm still hitting the right gap size and also the right length on my earphones right here, but that looks pretty good to me. I'm really happy with my hole because it seems to be exactly the size that I want it to be, so I can still charge my AirPods while they're in the case. And now we're at the end of the row. Now, if you don't have the hole, I'm going to set a bookmark right here so you can join us here again. What you should have done is you should have made a long chain and then simply single crocheted back and back around again. And from here on, this pattern is exactly the same. So once you're at the end of your row again, what we're gonna do is so I've just single crocheted into my last hole from the other side here, and I'm gonna single crochet 2 more in here so that you have 3 in total. So here is 1, and here's the second one. And then I'm gonna single crochet right back along this whole work. So single crochet all along here across my chains until I reach the beginning. So until I reach this end right here, and I'll meet you there. So here we are, I've reached the end of my work here. So now I'm gonna continue in a round essentially. So this is the stitch that I increased the previous round. So I'm gonna single crochet 3 stitches into here. It might be 2 or it might be 4, so just use your judgment. So I'm gonna do 3 because I want it to be nice and flat at this point at least. But if you find that with 2 stitches you're already at your next stitch, then just use 2. If you find that with your 3 stitches you're still really far away from this next stitch right here, then by all means use another one, use a 4th one. So same thing, I'm gonna single crochet all along. I'm gonna even out this thing where we switched directions just now, and then I'll meet you on the other hand right here, so on the stitch before the turn starts. Okay, so now I'm back at the other side of the row, and I'm gonna go ahead and measure again, because essentially what we're gonna start doing is we're gonna start crocheting into the back loop only to start the shaping. But I think I'm gonna do 1 more row here because I'm still quite narrow. So if I show you like this, you can kind of see the white still in both parts. And essentially we're gonna be creating this edge right here. So that's created by crocheting into the back loop only. So if for your AirPod case or for your headphone case, earphone case, you're already at that part, go ahead and continue in a circle. Continue in the back loop only and don't increase anywhere. For me, because I'm still not there yet, I'm gonna still do 2 stitches into each of my corner stitches here. So I'm going to do 2 single crochet straight along this edge, and then start my back loop only, just because I want a little bit more width on mine. But if you're already there, go ahead and start single crocheting into your back loop only for 1 full round. So I'll either meet you at the beginning of this round, or if you're like me and need either 1 more or 2 more sides even, then still crochet flat, so that means increasing on the edge, and I'll meet you to start your back loop only. So I've gone ahead and done 1 more side on mine. I'm gonna measure 1 more time, and to me that looks a lot better because it just covers the whole width of my case now. So from here, I'm gonna do the full loop all the way around, the full round into back loop only. Crochet single stitching. So the way that goes is that you have your stitch here, front loop is this one, the back loop is this one. So I'm gonna go poke my needle into the back loop and do a regular single crochet. And I'm gonna do that the whole way around without increasing on the sides. And that way you're gonna start shaping for your case. So I'll meet you back at the beginning of the round after you've done your back loop only round. So now I'm done my back loop only round, and you'll already see that it's starting to curl up a little bit because we didn't increase this round, and you'll also be able to see that line right here that we've created. You can go ahead and measure really quick. That looks good. So just a note on measuring, I'm just going to take my hook out to demonstrate this, is that this right now, my back loop line is here and here. It looks relatively tight, but that is okay, and that's actually good. You want this to sit really nice and tight because it will stretch a little bit, and you don't want it to be loose. So we'll keep measuring as we go along, but for now, if you're finding that this is already standing off, then I would go back, unravel it a little bit, and do less increases on your sides so that you have it a little bit tighter. If you find that it's standing off, or if it's just way too big, then I would actually recommend you restart at this point of time when you haven't built the body yet and just make fewer stitches here. But mine, I think it looks okay. It looks quite well. It might look like it's a little bit short on the edge to just go up, but I want it to be tight, and it will stretch over time, or after the first few times that you put it in if you're using cotton. Okay, so if you want to make it striped like this one, I'm actually going to make this one the same as this one, just with inverted colors. So that's why I've done the bottom in green now. Then what you're going to do is, I think it's nicest to change the colors at the back. So I've just kind of picked the middle of the back and just always done my color change here so that I have one nice side and just the back side, which looks a little bit messier just because of the color changes. So to find, or to start changing colors, I'm just gonna go ahead and regular single crochet, so no longer just in the back loop, but regular single crochet to right around about here so that it lines up with the hole, just to find the middle of it. You could count your stitches, but I'm just gonna eyeball it because at the back here, no one's gonna count the stitches. It just needs to kind of look like it's in the middle. You can also do it on the side here, wherever you want this transition to be. If you want to do stripes, that's until where you're going to crochet. So for me, I'm going to start right around here. So I'm going to single crochet until here. If you don't want to do the stripes, if you don't want to do colors, then you can just single crochet around, let's say 2 rounds, and then you're going to keep measuring. And I'll show you how the measuring works as you go along, but I'm just going to change colors. So single crochet until around here. Okay, so here the next stitch is going to be right the middle of my hole, I believe. So to color change, this is just a regular crochet, single crochet color change. I'm going to go into the next hole, pull that loop through, and I'm going to change my color right here. So instead of pulling this yarn through, I'm going to pull the yarn of the new color through. So I have my beige right here, leave a tail long enough to sew, right around here, and then just pull this color through. I'm going to do the whole entire round until I'm back at the stitch in this color. If you're not changing color, just keep continuing. Do 1 more round, 2 more round, and then we'll do a measurement. Okay, so I finished my round. For my next color change, I'm going to switch back to the dark green. Same thing, this is my last stitch before the color change. So go in here, pull it through. Then I'm going to switch to my green color, pull that through, and then continue doing another round. If you want, you can already measure here. It will be a little bit more obvious, like once you do more rounds. Yep, but this looks good. So it might seem like it's really small, you see, like it might seem like it's just way too small, but when you're measuring, just really pull it. Like you want this to be quite nice and tight. There we go. It is a little bit harder. So as long as you can pull it to the width of your case without yanking like the whole thing apart, then you're perfect. If you don't need to pull it at all to the size, then you might want to consider either decreasing in your next round if you find that it's a matter of 1 or 2 stitches, or going back and or increasing less on the increases that you made at the bottom here, because if it fits in perfectly now here, or even like say if this is your case and if there's space like on either side, unless you really want it to be loose, I really recommend that you make it tighter, because you'll also see with this one that it's kind of adapted the shape, but this is actually all straight. Like there are no in or decreases here until around about here. And that just ensures that it sits really nice and snug. And because these are expensive earphones, like you don't want to lose them. So yeah, and with the cotton it just kind of takes on the shape anyways, and you can still get it out because you're twisting it in there, right? So yeah. So continue that. So continue changing your colors at the same place at the back, and that automatically gives you kind of like that check pattern, or the triangle checks, because that's just different color single crochets all along. So you're gonna continue that, kind of measuring with every round, making sure it fits. If it doesn't fit and it's a matter of 1 or 2 stitches, just decrease or increase there. But I'm gonna continue this until the height of the case reaches around about where the line is. So until where it opens. If you have a different case, maybe around 3/4 or 2/3 up, and then I'll show you how to do the tighter finish at the top. All right, so I've gone again into measure, or to make sure it fits. And so I'm gonna switch back to dark green now, because I think the way these color coordination, like the way the balance between the stripes and the monotone up here, I think is quite nice. So I've done the same amount of stripes here. So I'm gonna go with my dark green right around about here. So where my case really starts curving, I'm gonna single crochet a few more rounds until I hit here. So my guess it'll be around, probably around 2 more rounds. So if you're already at the point, maybe you have a different case where it starts curving, you can skip ahead and then I'll show you how to do the decreases. But for me, I'm gonna do 2 more rounds from where the opening sits right here. So I'll meet you back where your case starts curving. All right, so I've added 2 more rows, so we'll see where we're at with the fit. So I guess I have all the strings in here, that's how you can see them here. Okay, so we're getting pretty close to it. So you see how I've kind of arrived to the point where it's not just straight anymore. So I now know that I can start my decreases. As you can see, it fits nice and tight at this point, but if I were to add another row here, it will probably already stand out a little bit, and that's what we don't want. We want to avoid that. So to avoid that, we're gonna do a round of decreases. So to do your decreases, you're gonna essentially decrease once here and once here. So I am going this way in my round, so I'm gonna single crochet these 2 together, and I'm gonna do an invisible decrease. So I'll show you this in 1 second. Okay, so now I'm here on the side part of it, and I'm gonna single crochet 1 more. Doesn't really matter where you decrease. I like doing it on the sides here, so it's a little bit less pulled together up here. So the invisible decrease, you're gonna take the front loop of your first stitch, then add the front loop of your second stitch, the 2 that you're decreasing up here. So now you have 2 front loops of your 2 stitches you're decreasing, and then do your regular single crochet. So once through these 2, and just as you would with a normal crochet. So continue the round to the other side, and then you're going to do the same thing right here. So do an invisible decrease for 2 stitches together right here. And then once you've done that, I'll meet you back somewhere around here, and then we'll start the slip stitch round. Okay, so now I'm back at the back of my case where I did all the color changes. So I've decreased ones here and ones here. For the next 2 rounds, actually, we're gonna do just slip stitches. So this is gonna tighten the opening a little bit more after our decreases, but we're not gonna decrease in that slip stitch round. So the way you do it is you go through both and then simply pull that yarn that you're getting on your needle through both loops just in one go. There we go. And then do that the whole way around until you hit the first slip stitch that you've made. I'll meet you there. Okay, so I'm back at the beginning of my round right here. I've taken the needle out. So now you can see that this round right here is all the slip stitches, and it looks a little bit different. It looks like a knitted row, I guess, if you're familiar with that, on the top here. And you'll also feel that this is a really tight entry now here. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure my case once more. Now, if this is really hard to get in, that's really fine. Take it in and out a few times and you'll stretch it out. I like having mine really nice and tight. You see that this is quite hard now because I haven't put it in yet. But it was the same with my other one, and the more I took it in and out, it was really fine. You can twist it around a little bit so you get a little bit more space, take it out, and then just play around. Okay, so now I've gotten it in. I'm gonna play around here just to make it adjust to the shape a little bit better. You can do one of two things here. You can either finish off right here, but I'm gonna add one more round of slip stitches on top, just because then the closing will be a little bit more snug, cover a little bit more off the top. And I just like that peace of mind knowing that my AirPods are not going anywhere. So yeah, I'm just gonna add that round, finish again at the back here. So that's where all my color changes are. And then I'll show you how to make the loop and how to finish off. So like I said, I'm gonna make a second row of slip stitches. And to do that, I'm only gonna go into the back loop of my previous slip stitches. So this one right here, it might be a little bit tight to get into, but that's okay. I like that it's tight, again, just for the purpose of this project. And then go all the way around in these back loops right here. All right, so I've done a second row of slip stitches right here. Taken out my crochet hook and finished it right here, so I pulled the end through. I'll weave in the end in a second. Okay, so I'll show you how to make the little loop now, which is literally just a long chain of chain stitches. And I'm gonna make mine a dark green. So just chain the length that you would want for your loop. I'll show you how to attach it in a second. Okay, so here's my chain. I've made it quite short because I like a shorter loop. You can make this as long as you want. Now, I recommend that if you have yarn that you can easily tear, I would actually go back and do another row on this of single crochets, just so you have it a little bit sturdier. The yarn I'm using, I literally cannot tear it by just really trying to yank it, so I'm not worried at all about this coming undone, especially because it's already a chain. So I'm gonna cut this and finish that off right here. Thread my needle with the end of that chain, and then I'm just gonna go in here. So I'm gonna fold it flat and then simply just pull it through with my needle right here. So that's one side. Then I'm gonna do the other side. And I'm gonna go in here because I just like a little loop on the side. Now if you want it to be like, I don't know, like a necklace or whatever, or a bracelet, then you can always go on the other side. You can be creative, whatever works for you. So I am gonna go in right here, a few stitches apart, so I know it's not gonna come through, and pull the other side of my chain through here. There we go. Then I'm gonna let go of my needle and just knot this at the back a few times, making sure that it's not gonna come undone at any point. So here we are. Now all we need to do is weave in the loose ends, and that's your AirPod case for you. So it is a smaller item, so I think smaller items always deserve a thinner yarn. Yeah, so hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'm gonna go ahead and weave in my yarns here. Make sure I stretch that a little bit. I do recommend that if you're planning on selling these, that you do stretch it out beforehand, because if people are at a market or something and they can't fit their AirPods in here, then they're probably not going to buy it, right? So you want to make sure that it's something like this where it's already nice and stretched, where people can come in and fit their earphones quite easily. And I think then you have a really nice product. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you soon. Bye!